Today's program is brought to you by Tres Vistas Recovery, located in San Juan Capistrano, California, an evidence-based and holistic healing sanctuary run by Dr. Daniel Hedrick. He's the same gentleman who treated me back in 2007. Check him out at tracevistasrecovery.com or give him a call at 888-240-8513. Tres Vistas employs the most dedicated and respected in the field of addiction recovery. Their team of proven individuals tailors treatments to suit each individual's addiction rehabilitation needs, and their complete staff is ready to help you get back on track to a full and enjoyable life. Tres Vistas Recovery, healing one family at a time. Welcome to the Todd Z Zcast, everybody. My name is Todd Zalkins, recorded live here in Long Beach, California, where we talk about a little bit of everything, a little bit of recovery, a little bit of this, that, and the other. Some things relevant and highly irrelevant. We're here to share with you what's really going on. Well, welcome to the Z-Man podcast with Todd Zalkins, everybody. I am thrilled to be hanging out here in the back of the bus.
That's right.
With Jacoby Shaddix of Papa Roach.
Yeah,
Jacoby,
man.
Thank you so much, man, for
coming out,
taking a few moments here. We're at the Hard Rock Casino out here, man, and you know, this was the most least expected thing that you just broke off on me before. You know, we've talked for a couple of minutes, and you know, Jacoby is from Northern California, Vacaville, right?
Vacaville, California. That's where I went to middle school and high school. So yeah, that was my stomping ground when I discovered rock and roll and started the band Papa Roach back in the day.
And I love the story behind how you got that name from your
yeah.
step grandpa.
Yeah, my stepdad. His last name is Roach, and he called his father and grandfather Papa Roach. That's what they called him. And for some odd reason, the drummer wanted to call the band Papa Gato, and I was like, nah, dude, Papa Roach, man, that's cool.
Yeah, Papa Gato, that's a cat, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not going to roll with that. Let's do Roach.
Whatever, dude. The Roach, dude, is just a little more grimy and nasty and, you know, and so it just kind of stuck. You know, the era of funky band names, you know, there was like Korn and what were the other ones that were real kind of weird? The Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, just kind of funky, freaky, whatever type names, and so it seemed to fit.
I often wondered how in the hell did they come up with that, and now I know. So anyway,
and if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah. I've been instructed officially by the man himself, and so I was going to ask Jacoby, you know, because I have personal word and experience from his good friend Will Bracey that he's a Sublime fan back in the day.
Most definitely, still am.
And I was going to
still be jamming to those tunes, man.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, hey, so did you ever see him live? And go ahead and share.
Yeah, man, I saw him for the first and last time in Petaluma, which was the last show he played. And so when we all got the news, you know, the next day, we were all just gutted because we were just like, man, he was so sick on stage. They were amazing. And then, you know, to hear that, it's just tragic. And, you know, it's like he wrote music that just related to that skate, punk rock, hip hop, freak, nutty 90s culture that I was just in. It was a part of my life, you know. So that was like, Sublime was one of those bands that was like the soundtrack to my high school years, you know. And so definitely loved the band. Thought he was a great front man, you know. And he kind of just had this like, I don't give a fuck, I'm just going to get up here and rip this shit up and be out vibe. And
he was absolutely like that. Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was awesome. And then, you know, a few years later, we did Warped Tour, and the Long Beach Dub All-Stars were out, and they did that. And man, those some rowdy motherfuckers, man. Because I never toured with those guys, but they were partying hard. Woo!
That's my crew.
They were y'all are some crazy motherfuckers.
Those are my boys,
dude. Crazy. I was intimidated. Eric, the bass player,
yeah.
Right? He would just walk around like, I'm like, I want to be like, yo, dude, I'm like a super fan, man. But I don't know if you want to punch me in the face or give me a hug. I don't know.
He's a teddy bear, man.
See, that's what it is. I was just intimidated.
Teddy bear. And I'm so glad that you shared that experience because I wanted to bounce that off of you. And my hairs on my neck are standing up, man. And I'm stoked that the band meant so much to you. And, you know, you guys have had tremendous success through the years. And by the way, I want to congratulate you on what's going on right now. A couple of these Billboard things, rock and roll. And that's fucking key. And by the way, key in my language is excellent. It's epic. It's clutch.
That's key. That's clutch.
It is key.
That is key.
And you know, you're a sober man.
Yes.
You're a sober man.
Yes, I am.
Are you coming on 6 years?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, well, here, I'll give you the long and the short of it is I struggle with, the whole deal for a long time. And finally, I was in and out of the rooms for a long time and kicked the bottle back in 2012. Fast forward, I thought it was a good idea to smoke pot, so I didn't pick up the bottle, but did that probably just over 6 months ago. So I gave up my time, and I went back in the room and I'm like, yo, but I didn't pick the bottle up, and so, I count my sobriety date as a different date now, but it's like I will always hold true, in my heart, like I'm like February 19th, man, 2012, I'd never.
Your last drink.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
It was the pit of darkness.
And I want to talk to you about this from an artist and creative perspective because, dude, in your prime when you guys were just destroying it. I mean, when it was going off the Richter scale for you guys, millions of records going off. You were dark.
Oh,
you wrote dark,
totally.
and I mean, and grinding, freaking deep, heavy shit. You wrote dark, and I want to ask you this, and that is, from a creative perspective, Jacoby, did getting sober, did it lighten you up in the heart? Did it change the way you were viewing things? And like, were you scared about that? Like, hey, I'm sober. What the fuck am I gonna write about?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a pretty. My story in sobriety has been pretty. There's highs and lows, and I struggled. Like I said earlier, when I first came in, I was like 27 when I tried to get sober, and I couldn't do it. I was real messed up, and I was like, I was popping. I'm like, I'm not drinking, and I'm popping pills, going to AA meetings and stuff like that. Like out of my head, and then I finally, quit that, and then it was like, I'd be sober for a while, and then I'd go back out on the road, and like. Dudes would be partying, I'd sneak back in the back lounge and just be like pound of beer, and then next thing you know, I'm off to the races, so I hit a few different bottoms, and finally at the end in 2012, I just was like, I can't do this anymore. It's done. Like, I'm about to die, and so through that, I think part of me did die, honestly, and finding sobriety gave me an opportunity again to be the person that God intends me to be. Do you know what I'm saying? To be a joyous, like I used to hear these words and think they were just so lame, but like happy, joyous, and free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I have moments where I'm happy, joyous, and free, like straight up. And if I've strung together a lot more days feeling that way, sober, than, out there using and abusing. So
I'm gonna bounce this off you because coming from Long Beach and the guys that you're familiar with who I rolled with and stuff, we lived kind of a hard life for a long time too. And I gotta ask you, do you look at the documents of music that you wrote early on, which by the way still hold up and fucking still rock, but do you look at it differently?
It's all part of my story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I look back at it and I'm like,
is that a bad question?
No, not at all.
Is that a weird fucking
no, not
question?
at all. Because I'll listen to a record and I'll be like, oh man, I remember when I was doing that, and that was all, I was out of my head and like I wasn't being honest and I was running amok, and it takes me back to those spaces. And there's records where I've been completely sober and recorded, and then there's records when I've been out of my head, like. For instance, speaking on a record where I have a great memory, very fond memory of, we were recording our album, Face Everything and Rise, Fear, here in Las Vegas. And I'm like, no other time in my career should I have ever spent any time in Las Vegas. But I was sober and I was like coming up on 2 years, and I was like, I think I'm ready to go to Vegas as a free man and go to that city and write a record. And come to find out, I wrote this record that was just, I was like feeling this like spirituality bubbling up in my life, and this freedom of living in a city that I used to just create so much wreckage in, that I came back here and I did it right when I came back and didn't create wreckage. So when I would show back up at home, I could face my wife and, I could look her in the eyes and I was cool, I wasn't hiding all these things. And so for me to be able to look back at records and find those moments where either they were very positive and enlightening or very dark, they're great reminders, and it's You know, I've had moments even since then when I was on that spiritual tip, 2 years sober. Just I've had moments when I just slip right back into my dark depression, deep, just destructive state.
Yeah.
And those records would be the things that remind me, hey, well, at least it isn't as bad as that time.
Hell yeah.
Or
yeah.
Look, remember a couple years ago when you were in that spiritual space where you were walking the world a free man, like you didn't feel like in a prison in your own mind. Like you've had moments like that. Don't forget about that. You can get back to that, you know? So it's just those little breadcrumbs, you know, through music that I've been able to leave myself, and also to speak that into people that listen to our music and are affected and influenced by it. And then they come to a meet and greet and they're like, yo, here's my coin, man. This is my, like, check it out, dude. I want you to throw a prayer on it. This is my 2-year coin.
Yeah.
You know, or a lady had given me her 10-year NA chip. She's like, I want you to have this, carry it with you. I'm actually carrying 2 coins in my bag up front. I carry them in my pocket every time we go on stage. It's a good friend of mine. It's his 1-year trip back home from my home group. And then another dude, it's his 27-year chip. So I carry both of those. I'm like, I better not lose these chips, dog. You're going to kill me.
How key is that?
Oh, it's
powerful
key,
stuff,
baby.
right?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It is. I'm picking that up from you, dog. I'm running with it.
I
like
love it. I love
but
it.
It's amazing.
He's a co-sponsor
man.
of Key now.
Yeah,
like
man.
that.
I got some good people around me that love and support me and help me out through this journey, because it's not easy out here on the road. And you know, and then you think back to people like Bradley, and you're like, you know, I could have been that.
Yeah.
I've just had that guardian angel around my life at moments when I just was at that space that those things didn't happen to me.
Isn't it? I love what you're saying, Jacoby, because what I'm hearing is, and it's what recovery is about so much to me, is that it's transformation.
Most definitely.
Right? I mean,
most definitely.
Would you? Can you roll with that?
I could get down with that, because if I didn't transform, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And that
Straight
old stuff, that stuff that you started with, that's still a huge asset. The stuff still kicks ass, but you transform and you change, right?
Yes,
You have kids, you're married, you have this key family, and it's just like we get to grow and change.
Most definitely.
Right?
You don't have to, that's the beauty about life, man. Straight up, is it doesn't have to stay the same. You know, I got this tattoo on my
Like that.
on my.
What does it say?
It's this one right here on my inside of my bicep says, "This too shall pass." You know, and it's like, so when I'm stuck in that funk, I'm like, all right, cool. This is just temporary. Like, I know I got the boot on my head and my head is on the curb and it feels like it's about to crush, but I know that the boot isn't going to be there forever. You know, so if I suffer well, I'm gonna make it out all right. You know. Actually, dude, we wrote this track for the next record. Vicious, nasty punk rock song. 1 minute, 17 seconds. It's called I Suffer Well, and it's just about that.
Dude.
I'll play it for you. It's nuts, dude. It sounds like something that would be like on one of those old school.
Are you going to break
LA
that off
punk
tonight?
rock. No, not tonight.
Damn. Okay.
It's a banger, dude. It's like, it's the crowd the heads would explode. I don't want that quite yet.
Okay, I can't wait for that on a fucking volume level 10.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I want to.
It goes up to 11, mate.
Does it?
All the way.
We can ratchet up a 1 on top of the 10.
Let's get it.
That'll be key. Let me ask you this, man. When you got sober, I got to ask you this, because was it a trip for you to, okay, I'm going to get up there on the first time. I'm in new skin. I'm in sober skin.
Yeah.
And shit, there's 12,000 people. Here we go. Was it something that you were tripping on, or were you like, you know, I'm in? I mean, or was it kind of a trip?
Well,
do you recall what your first
here's
sober
what it
show
was. The first time I cleaned up, I was just on the brink of going back down to LA to start another record, and I quit drinking. Next day, 2 days later, I called my producer. I'm like, hey man, you know, I just want to let you know, like, I am coming to LA. I'm on my way. I'm gonna drive down with my family. You know, I'm getting sober. And I just remember he kind of like paused and kind of was just like, kind of chuckled and like scoffed a little. And I'm like, he's like, and then he goes, that's what's fucking wrong with all you fucking rock stars these days, is you guys want to get sober. He's like, that's killing fucking rock music. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there just going,
nobody likes a quitter,
holy
man.
fuck, dude, I want to stab you in the face right now.
Yeah.
You know, but I went down to LA and I was terrified, honestly, because I was like, I didn't want to get into the studio and create. I was nervous. I didn't have any confidence. You know, I think I just was in a real broken space, period. But then I went in there and started to, I was changing in my heart and in my personal life, that it started to seep into the music. And that's where the freedom started to come, as we were writing songs and I was being creative and more creative, and the confidence came. And
How
it's like
huge
I
is
was
that?
stringing days together. It was amazing, man. And all the while I was still out of my head, but it was like I just had at least had put the drink down.
Yeah.
And had that clarity in my life to be able to create again. And so the confidence built in that space. And then by the time it was time for us, and in that process too, we made a record that was like, nobody knew it at the time, but it was like, we played the songs for the record company and they're like, oh, what are we going to do with this dead band Papa Roach? They're over, because it's our third record. And, they just weren't feeling it. And we had this song called Scars, and Jimmy Iovine was like, heard it, and he's like, you need to go back in the studio and make it sound more like Stained. It's been a while, this other song. And I'm like, so they just weren't feeling what we were doing. And so we went in and we took his word. We're like, all right, we'll do this. We tracked it. It was terrible, right? We turned the music back in, and he's like, and then he gave us some more time. He's like, oh, I kind of like it. So then lead to, a record company doesn't want to put out our music. I'm just getting sober for the first time. We going to step on a stage in Washington, D.C. It was the D.C. 101 Chili Cook-Off. And we had this song called Getting Away with Murder, and nobody believed in the song. And our radio staff was there, Brenda Romano and this guy Gary Spivak, still in the business. And I turn around, I told him, I'm like, listen, watch our show today. And this is why I'm dead sober, I'm like, watch our show today and watch when we play this song, Getting Away with Murder. Watch what happens in the crowd. I guarantee you by the end of the song, they will be singing this song. So I was empowered with this like confidence, you know what I mean? And that was only through sobriety and working with my higher power and working with other dudes. But I was like, we get on stage and I had no apprehension. I'm like, we're going to slay this, like very intentional, and not like in a cocky space, but just like, you believe me, like follow me, man. Let's go. And we went up there and sang it, and the whole crowd, dude, 30,000 people singing back to us, Getting Away with Murder.
No way.
You know what I mean?
30,000
people.
people.
It was insane.
Just
and I'm like, I turn around and kind of look at them, I'm like,
yeah. You got that, Jack? Yeah.
And it became ended up being the first single on the record. And that record went on to sell 1.5 million records for a company that thought we were a dead band. But essentially, we were dead, because I was out of my head, just a mess before we went in to make this record. And so cleaning up, it saved my career, it saved my family, it saved my life,
ask you about that too.
Saved my relationships with my band. Like it just transformed everything around me. And then, lo and behold, I get back out on the road and I think I got it all figured out. And then I pick up the bottle again and I'm a disaster.
But you came back to recovery.
That's right.
In fact, I gotta compliment you on something, because it's obvious and clear that you've been humbled not only by the disease, but also you fell into a good group of people, because you've got good recovery.
Oh, yeah.
I sense the gratitude.
Most definitely.
Does that
attitude, gratitude, dog? That's what's up. I got a group.
Key is that?
Yeah.
We're talking about what's key.
Seriously, scientists did a study on people with gratitude. They practice gratitude, and it's a perception, it's an action, it's an attitude, obviously, but it's the way that it affects people's lives. It's like the ripple effect. It's massive. It changes people's lives straight up, and so that's something that I try to be grateful. I try to point out those things. In moments I'm just a sucker.
I got to share this one with you, Jacoby. There's this detox center in Costa Mesa I go to all the time to read with guys who are shivering and stuff. And on the big wall it says, "Grateful people are happy people, and those that aren't."
It's truth. Straight up.
Right?
Sometimes it just needs to be that simple.
Because I'm either in gratitude or I'm in fear.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
It's one or the other.
I feel you on that 100%.
Right?
I could waver back and forth within an hour. You know what I mean?
I could leave your bus.
Yeah.
And something's going to hit me. I'll be scared to shit or something.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, Jacoby hates me. He thinks I'm a jack off.
Nah, man, you good folks, man. You good folks, dude. I'm telling you. I think it's definitely important to keep that. And I'm part of a list of fellow musicians. Yeah. And there's probably like 13 guys on it. It's a running gratitude list now for I think almost 6 years.
Okay.
And I just remember sitting down with a musician friend
All
of
in
mine.
recovery. Pardon my interruption.
Yeah, all in recovery.
Nice.
And actually, a couple of them are in town tonight. One of them's coming out to the show.
Okay.
The other one is working with Wounded Warriors, doing this thing called Rock to Recovery. It's awesome. I should link you up with my boy Wes. Wes is down. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wes is going to be on my podcast.
Okay,
Wes
cool.
Gear's coming in. We're going to have him in a couple of weeks.
That's my boy, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Wes is
Me
wonderful.
and Wes used to wild out back in the day, so thank God we got sober.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Wes is coming tonight?
He's working with Wounded Warriors in town from 7 to 10 tonight.
He's carrying the message big time.
He's on it, dude.
And I absolutely love what he's doing. He's working his ass off and he's helping
amazing.
a shitload of people, man. That's cool that you guys are connected too.
Yeah,
man.
dude. I just remember like talking with him, and he was playing with Korn at the time, and Brian was gonna come back, and he was kind of struggling with that, and he just had this vision in his mind of this thing, Rock to Recovery, and he was telling me about this, and I'm like, this is genius. Like, go do that. It's service, it's creative, it's you're giving back. Like, that's what the world needs. People need that.
And he's balls to the wall with it too. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed. I mean, there's been nothing but momentum.
Oh, most definitely.
And they're kicking ass. And I can't wait to have him on. He's going to come on in just a couple of weeks,
he's a great
man.
dude. You guys will love what what he has to say, man.
For sure.
He's one of my regulars. I'll reach out to. He texted me this morning. He's like, "You in town?" I was like, "Yeah." And then another friend on the list as well. He's going to come out to the show. So I want a good network, man. A good network of people.
It is absolutely clear.
Two other dudes on this tour are actually sober.
Is that now? How much does that help or what?
Oh,
I mean, you got a little picket fence right here on your road.
It's dope, man. We get into it. We just do the little round robin meetings in the back of the bus right here.
Oh, you need just two, right?
Yeah, only two, but
no,
we got three. We're stacking them up, man.
That's right, man.
Hey, we got another kid that wants to come check it out too. I'm like, hey, listen, man. Come on back if you need.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I know we got to get wrapped up in a second, but I want to bounce one more quick thing off you, and that is family. Is it safe to assume that the family unit is just better because of what's going on?
Oh yeah.
Right? Can you talk just a little bit about that for a sec?
Yeah, man. You know, I grew up with an alcoholic, drug addict father. You know, and my mom had eventually split the sheets because she just couldn't hack that and didn't want us to be around it, you know, and it was a tough moment in my life, and you know, of experiencing that kind of emotional loss at a young age, you know, and walking through that, it scarred me, you know what I mean? But then it also taught me a lesson, you know. It's like, hey man, like you have a chance as a Shaddix man to break the family cycle. And so when I finally, you know, got sober and put that shit down once and for good, you know, it's given my family a shot. You know, my oldest son, I just had a conversation with him the other day. You know, I was like, hey, because he's turning 16 soon. I'm like, you friends smoking pot? You guys drink? You know, you friends drinking? He's like, nah, Dad. Like, we're not about that life. Like, me and my friends, it's just not what we're about.
How huge is that, man?
And I'm like,
yeah, you sure, man?
But that's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, and if one day he is about that life, well then he'll figure it out. But he knows that like the Shaddix, us as a family in the past, like it's just generation after generation of alcoholics that never could get it together, you know. So it's like my shot to be a stand-up father and to be a good husband is like, I got it, you know what I'm saying? I'm married 20 years to my wife.
That's awesome.
We've had some highs and some lows, you know, but forgiveness, patience, tolerance, love making brings it all back, you know.
Man, that's huge, and sobriety has obviously smoothed out a lot of shit, right?
Totally, 100%.
And you know what, man, this has been just an absolute killer session, and I'm going to finish it up with this, and that is, man, my birthday is 4 days apart from you. We're both freaking Leos.
That's right.
I'm on the 24th.
Woo, 28th,
You're
baby.
the 28th, man. Leos aren't so bad.
We're pretty good folks.
We're not bad, man. Jacoby, can you say one more thing, and that is I want you to blast something out to. We often want to share a message with someone who might be struggling out there, number one. Number two, for people who think sobriety isn't all that fun, you know, could you break something off to people who sobriety's good, man?
Oh, yeah,
Could
man.
you bust something out to someone out there who's listening?
I mean, straight up,
you know?
like anybody out there struggling, like sobriety, you know, my decision to chase sobriety is the best decision I've ever made in my life, you know, besides following God, my higher power, you know, like that is, for me, it's given me my life back, and it's given me a freedom to walk the world a free man. I could be in Las Vegas and have a great time. I don't necessarily say I need to be hanging out at the bars all the time, but I could walk in one and enjoy myself and sit next to my wife and she could do her thing. But it's like there's freedom in this, and it's like we get to get back to who we are intended to be, which is just people that have moments of peace and clarity. And when we can find that, it's like it's a whole different high, you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, I have a good time sober. People trip, they're like, "You're sober?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. I keep that red Solo cup handy." You know?
That's right.
So they don't have to offer me a drink. I'm like, "No, it's cool. I got my drink." So yeah, man, there's hope for you, man. If you need to get sober, get sober.
Is there any other? There's no better way than to cut this effing program than the way that man just ended it right there. Jacoby Shaddix, I cannot thank you enough for doing this deal with me, and you are absolutely key.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, back at you, man.
Man,
Appreciate
it was
your
an
service.
absolute privilege.
I'm going for a handshake.
Privilege to know you.
Privilege to know you.
That's all we got for today. That's all we got. God, that's all we got.